Hi. Last week there were some questions about how to use data and why to use data and simply what it is. So I wanted to record a quick video of show you what it is and answer your questions. So at every course on Blackboard, I try to have a content area where you could access it through the menu and you have a quick lecture notes about Stata, basic to answer everything that you need to get it started. And then if there are any weekly assignments, copy paste can be an issue from a PDF file. So I provide them as text files, and this is that text file that you can simply download and copy paste. It just makes your life easier. Stata started out as an academic software. It was very cheap. But for the last few years, they simply increased the price to a level which is significantly higher than what it was. I think somewhere around like $600 or $700 now. What you can do as a student is you can rent Stata for 6 months. I believe the price is about $45. Then there's a little handbook which basically includes every user-written command for Stata that we have written. These are specific to our finance purposes, and we use these commands in our courses, in our assignments, and so on and so forth. So this is just a simple download of the PDF. You could find all of the commands there, examples, and several projects. So this is the lecture notes that we have for the Stata. This is simply an introduction of explaining what it is, what does it look like, which I'm going to go through today, and then why do we use it, and then why use Stata from Stata's point of perspective, and then a very simple hello world, which is I think customary when you try to learn a new language, and then explaining what user written commands are, a simple chart, a very simple exercise of downloading prices, which again we're going to do today. And we have a simple financial analysis. And as you can see, I just take screenshots in this and provide it to you. So having said all of this, let's get on with it. This is the Stata. It's an econometric software. So what it does is everything that you do with Excel, you can actually do it with Stata. Although it has a learning curve, it's actually quite useful, really fast, and given the right tools, very powerful. With Excel, it's very nice. You can have good charts. You can do a lot of econometrics, estimations, and very powerful statistics. However, it's limited to manual use. There's always a Visual Basic in the background, but the learning curve for that one is a lot steeper than Stata, in my opinion. So with Excel, for instance, if you're going to download prices for a stock and you want to draw a chart, you have to do this for every stock. You have to go into Yahoo Finance or Google Finance and then download daily prices, open them in Excel, select your data, clean your data, and then draw a chart. And every time you have to choose whatever options you're going to use for that chart. Now imagine you want to do this for, say, 65 stocks of Dow Jones or 500 stocks of S&P 500, simply because you wanted to see and compare each and every alternative that you have. Keep in mind, we have thousands of stocks and thousands of ETFs. So, using Excel, while it's nice, and I think it's a default in our field, not knowing a programming language like Stata is a handicap. There's also another language called Python, which is also very powerful, and I think in the industry it actually goes a long way. But for our lecture purposes, Stata is a lot more user-friendly. There's only one flavor of it, where Python you have several flavors of it. And the commands, there's a significant community help files with Stata. So for the time being, we're going to stick to Stata. So Stata has a few panes, as you can see. On the left-hand side, you have your reviews, results, command, the variables, and properties. So think about it like this. In Excel, you have a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet includes columns and rows. With Stata, you have your memory. That's the memory that's allocated to Stata within your computer. And within the memory, you actually have very much like a spreadsheet, columns and rows. But each column now, we refer to it as a variable. And then each row, we refer to it as observations. So we can have several variables and several rows, and basically you have a Stata. The main difference between Excel and Stata in that sense is with Excel, you could actually go into each cell and write functions and copy paste these functions, and then you could address individual cells and do whatever you want to do with it. With Stata, um, it's more about doing it for the entire variable, entire line of observations, and it gets a little bit tricky. But once you do it, whatever you do, you can actually repeat it for 500 stocks or 1,000 stocks with a few lines of code. So the way that we interact with Stata is we write our commands on the command line, and then Stata will repeat our commands and give us its response. So for instance, let's do a very simple display. Say hello. So what we did is we simply just communicated with Stata. We told Stata to display something, anything that you want to do, in this case hello, and then Stata repeated our command and then basically did whatever it's supposed to do, and it displayed our command. Now on the left hand side you will see the review where you have the log of everything that we have done. Now this is very useful because these are all texts. When you click on them, they will reappear in the command line. So for instance, if you have a mistake and say you misspelled it, and Stata will complain that this is unrecognized, we'll give you a command error code, so you can actually click on it and then it will tell you what it is. So Stata is very helpful in that sense. Now, one of the easy ways is once you have this so long, it becomes really cumbersome to type it all again. You can just click on it and then, so it makes it very easy. Now, whenever you copy these, you can actually copy them to a text file, a very simple text file, and then save it and share it with your friends, share it with your professor, save it for yourself, for your future. So it makes repetitious tasks quite easy. So what we're going to do now is very simply, and then I will explain these parts as we get to them, but I will explain some of the very basic things that we're going to start doing. So these are the Stata code assignments. This is the text file that I told you about that I actually had on Blackboard. So first week, second week, whatever, each week we're going to have assignments, and I will have solutions for you using Stata. And like always, copy paste from a PDF may be cumbersome, so I provide you text files. Now we have user written commands. So a user written command is basically a set of lines of commands, and they do a very specific task for you. We've written hundreds of these, and they're all targeted towards our students and for finance. The first one is fetch components. This simply downloads the components of indices like S&P 500 and Dow Jones and whatnot. And then the net install is the command that comes with Stata, but it's very much like installing an app on an iPhone. Fetch components is the name that we chose for our app or our user written command, and we're telling Stata to install it. You can have multiple lines of code, and we're going to install 2 at a time. And then the second one is called fetch Yahoo quotes. It simply will download Yahoo Finance daily prices or daily prices from Yahoo Finance for any stock, ETF, or anything that's available on Yahoo Finance, including indexes, bonds, and so on and so forth. So let's install these and see what it says. It says it checked it and then verifying that it's already installed. It was actually already installed on my computer, so I installed it anyways. And then it says installation is complete. Now notice how I have every command right here being logged. Still don't have anything in the memory, therefore we don't have any properties. So let's continue with this. Let's use the command. And what I'm going to do now is I will type the command and then I will have options. Stata is very structured. It will have the command and then whatever you may have associated with the command and a comma. And then after the comma, you will have options. If you have an issue with a command, you simply type help and then the name of the command and you will have a help file. The help file will explain the syntax, the title, any options that you have, a description, and very nicely an example. So you could just copy paste the example. In this case, I want to do the S&P 500. So it says components for GSPC, the symbol for S&P 500 is downloaded. Now notice on the right-hand side, you have the symbol now as a variable. And if you click on it, you actually see the properties of this variable. It's a string type 5. Format is %9s. That's the Stata's format for string. That's about 5 string or 5 letters long. In order to look at this, you could type in browse or BR for short, but browse. And then you will see a very spreadsheet looking the memory. So what you're looking for is the memory that's allocated to Stata. You have a column called symbol, and that's your variable now. And then you have individual observations. Now notice as you click on these observations, right here it says symbol and brackets 8, which means that this is the variable symbol and then the observation 8, and it's ADBE. So if you go down, you will see that we have 504. S&P 500 actually has 505. Berkshire Hathaway, I think, is taken out because of dash. So in any case, we now have 504 stocks included in S&P 500, and we have these symbols downloaded for us. Now let's do another one. Let's download the S&P 500, Apple, Facebook, and I don't know, say IBM daily prices. So our command is fetch Yahoo quotes. Then we basically just typed in the symbols as they would appear on Yahoo Finance. We want to download a daily frequency. We don't need the log differences, and we want to start as 1st of 2018. So I simply just use the date a day before. So we gave the order to Stata, and then it's actually working. You can see it right here. And then you see how GSPC is downloaded, Apple is downloaded, Facebook is downloaded, IBM is downloaded, and the time variable is date, and then you have these date 4-hour period. So, but there are gaps, and your change is 1 day. Now on the right-hand side, you see the date, adjusted close, GSPC, Apple, Facebook, and IBM. These are basically adjusted close, just as they would appear on Yahoo Finance. They are adjusted for dividends and splits. So let's take a look at our data. So they're nicely and neatly just stacked up, and you see the date and each stock, and the first day is missing because I'm not so sure. I have to check, I guess. But the rest is all here. The problem is that every day that we have a trade, and unfortunately we don't have trade over the weekend. So you're going to have January 5th, January 8th, January 12th to January 16th. So weekends are missing. So but with gaps refers to those weekends that are missing. Now let's do a very simple and by the way, if you wanted to download the entire GSPC, you could just type in 500 individual stocks and just download them, and you would have 500 stocks right here. So let's do a very simple chart, say two-way. This is a Stata command, and then every parentheses that you have is a line on that chart. So you could have as many as you like. So we're going to put a line, and then we are going to have adjust. Notice I'm just, instead of typing this, I'm just going to click this. I could have just typed it too, like this. So we're going to have a two-way chart, which is a line chart between adjusted close and date. And that's it. That's your chart. So if we wanted to have this for, say, Apple, then we do Apple. We want to do this for Facebook. And then if you wanted to do it for IBM, you see how nice this is, right? So let's say that we wanted to just copy the whole thing and save it for our records. So this is what we do. We don't need this. This was just to show you. And this is what we can do. So just as an example, let's do these. You see how I stacked up the two, right? That's a line chart. And I put the IBM and Apple side by side on the same two-way. And then let's see what we're going to have. Well, see, we have now adjusted close Apple and adjusted close IBM. Keep in mind that we could actually include 500 stocks, 1,000 stocks, or however many stocks that we have on the same chart. So this is a very simple crash course, if you will, on Stata, what you can do with it. And keep in mind that every command that or every line, every assignment that we have, I'm going to provide you with the solutions using Stata.